All right, let's dive into something pretty unsettling. Today, we're going to explore a really powerful philosophical parable. And through it, we're going to diagnose a sickness called market complacency. It's about what happens when a whole society loses its sense of meaning and just gets so lost in the day-to-day that it can't see the giant abyss opening up right under its feet.
So, picture this. It all kicks off in a busy marketplace with a man screaming, "I seek God! I seek God!" Now the twist is, he's not mad because he's lost his mind. He's called a madman because he's the only one who seems to see a terrifying truth that everyone else is just ignoring.
So here's how we're going to break this down. We'll follow this diagnosis in 6 steps. We'll start with the madman in the market, then we'll try to figure out what this murder of God really means. From there, we'll diagnose the sickness of complacency, see how that leads to the rise of resentment, and then we'll meet the monster we create. And finally, we'll face the impossible challenge that all of this leaves us with.
Okay, so first stop is the marketplace itself. This is the stage for this massive clash, right? You've got the lone prophet on one side, and on the other, a crowd that is just completely, blissfully unaware of what's happening.
This really lays out the two sides perfectly. On one hand, you have the madman. He's not just some crazy guy. He's a prophet of the void. He sees the crisis coming, and he's desperate to get people to listen. And then on the other side, you have the marketplace crowd. They're described as comfortably numb. Sure, they're atheists, but it's more of a lazy habit than some deep philosophical realization. Their entire world is just about buying and selling. So when this guy shows up screaming about God, it's just a joke to them.
And their laughter, that's the real key here. It's not the laugh of someone who knows better. It's a symptom of just how deeply ignorant they are. They think they're past all that old religious stuff, but they have absolutely no clue what they've actually lost, or what's about to come rushing in to fill that empty space.
And that leads us to the most shocking part of the whole parable, the murder of God. What on earth does that actually mean? This powerful metaphor of unchaining the entire earth from its sun. What is that really about?
Now, it is so important to get this right. Nietzsche's death of God isn't a theological statement. He's not saying God is literally dead. It's a metaphor for the total collapse of the moral and philosophical system that the entire Western world was built on. That shared belief in a universal, objective truth that gave everything meaning. That's what has died. And who did it? Well, the madman is crystal clear. We have killed him. You and I. This wasn't one event. It was a long, slow process, and ironically, it was driven by the Enlightenment's own demand for truth. Science and reason, in their hunt for what's real, eventually just made that old worldview impossible to believe in.
And this is the fallout. This is what you get. Without that central sun to hold us in orbit, humanity is just adrift. The madman asks, are we not straying through an infinite nothing? Is there even an up or down anymore? This is the definition of nihilism. That terrifying stomach-dropping feeling that maybe there's no objective meaning to any of this.
Okay, so now we get to the real heart of the diagnosis, the crowd's reaction. This isn't just ignorance, you see. It's an active sickness, a kind of spiritual condition. We're calling it market complacency. You could also call it the atheism of the last man.
So what does this sickness actually look like? Well, for starters, it's a kind of casual atheism. There's no real awareness of what it means to live in a godless universe. It's a total focus on immediate profit, on comfort, and maybe the most important symptom? A deep, deep refusal to suffer. Which, when you think about it, means a refusal to strive for anything bigger than what you can buy at the market.
You don't even have to take my word for it. The crowd says it all themselves. In one version of this story, a figure asks them for meaning, and they just laugh and shout, "There is no meaning here but profit." It's that simple. Purpose has been swapped out for commerce.
This whole belief system actually gets a name, the last man axiom. And the formula is terrifyingly simple. The people refuse to suffer, and because of that, they refuse to strive. This isn't a choice that comes from wisdom or strength. It comes from a lust for absolute comfort and safety. And as we're about to see, that has some really dire consequences.
Because here's the thing about a spiritual vacuum. It doesn't stay empty for long. Something always rushes in to fill it. And when a society gives up on striving, that void starts to fill with something, well, something pretty toxic. This is the rise of resentment.
See, a life that's only about comfort and avoiding pain, it doesn't actually make people happy. What it does instead is create this massive psychic weight of resentment. It's like this quiet, festering bitterness that's bubbling just underneath the surface of that busy, happy-looking marketplace.
And this resentment, it needs a voice. That's where these figures called the tarantulas come in. And as you can see here, they are absolute masters of deception. They wear a mask of virtue, but behind it is something else entirely. They preach all should be equal, but what they really mean is no one should be greater than us. They scream for justice, but what they really want is revenge.
And that's the core of their whole ideology. At the end of the day, it is always revenge, cloaked in virtue. These noble-sounding words are just a way to deliver their poison. Their goal isn't to lift everyone up, it's to drag anything great down to their level.
And this brings us to the final chilling stage of this societal sickness. Because when complacency and resentment are given an ideology, they don't just stay as ideas in people's heads, they come together to create something truly monstrous.
The path here is frighteningly clear. Step 1. It all starts with market complacency, that refusal to strive. Step 2. This creates a spiritual vacuum that gets filled with silent resentment. Step 3. The tarantulas come along and give that poison a voice, an ideology. And the final step, that infection summons a societal monster.
And that monster is the man-beast. Now, let's be really clear. This isn't some enemy from the outside. The man-beast is the physical manifestation of a society's own internal rot. It is the ape of the overman, a sick, twisted parody of the higher creative human that Nietzsche hoped for, born instead from a culture of pure collective resentment.
Which brings us all the way back to where we started, to the madman's desperate plea. After going through this whole diagnosis, what's the challenge that's left for us? What in the world must we become now? The death of God is not framed as some great victory. It's a tremendous burden. By destroying the old source of meaning, humanity now faces a terrible new duty. We have to become worthy of what we've done. We have to create our own values, completely from scratch.
And so we end with the madman's final, haunting question. He throws down his lantern, realizing he's way too early, that nobody understands yet, and he asks, must we ourselves not become gods simply to appear worthy of it? A terrifying challenge for a complacent world, and a profound question that's just left there for all of us to answer.